Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jeff, and today we're going to have some fun talking about the new Guilds of Ravnica spoilers that just came out. And I'm really excited about what's coming out. Today we don't have tons of rares or mythics, anything like that. In fact, we only have one rare, but I did want to talk about some of the new things coming out. We do have a few cards to talk about, but first off, I want to talk about the new basic lands that came out. So first off, I'm not going to show you all of them, but I do want to point out some of the cool things. So first off, here are a couple of islands that we have here right on screen. And the cool thing about these is the watermarks. First off, these just look fantastic. I really love that they're doing watermarks here on the islands and everything, and it just looks really good. And one thing I wanted to point out is that the two different symbols that are on here. And so if you notice with all the spoilers that are coming out with these cards is that with each different guild that you're in, you have a different symbol for it. So like the Izzet or the Golgari or Dimir, all those different color combinations have a guild symbol. And so one island here works with the Izzet one, and you can see the Izzet mountain that goes with it, and then also the Boros mountain that goes with the Boros set here. And so you can see that they have a bunch of different symbols and everything like that that goes with the different color combinations, and that carries on through all of the different cards as well. So hopefully you can see that as it goes on. I think that's really cool and just makes the artwork on these cards, I think, really pretty, or not pretty, but they look really good, you know? So anyway, with that, let's go ahead and get into some of the other cards that we have. All right, so first off, let's start out with our new rare card. So Firemind's Research, and I am a huge fan of this card. A lot of people are kind of saying it won't be very strong, and I agree with that. I think that it's it's good in a specific deck, but I think that that deck has a lot of potential. And so the deck that I'm thinking of is kind of like the Gutter Snipe, burn instant sorcery burn deck, and I think that this can find play in a couple other decks as well, but I think that there can be like a control-y burn version of this deck, just a straight up burn with a little bit more card draw. But what this does is it's a 2-mana enchantment, in the Izzet colors, blue and red, and it's a rare. And it says, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a charge counter on Firemind's Research. So you put a charge counter on it, and then for 1 and a blue, you can remove 2 charge counters from Firemind's Research and draw a card. And then for 1 and a red, you can remove 5 charge counters from Firemind's Research, and it deals 5 damage to any target. So the reason why I like this, like, it is one of those, like, kind of play, 2-mana do nothing type of card. It's just going to be out there. But in the burn type of deck, especially if you're doing like a control burn, or you're going to hold on to cards for a Gutter Snipe, or a lot of times you're not wanting to play your 2-mana instant sorcery spells because you get so much more value once you actually have a Gutter Snipe out. And so for that reason, I think that this Firemind's Research is actually pretty good inside of that deck, because it does the two things that we want it to do. The two things you're wanting to do in a burn deck, especially a blue-red type of burn deck, is you're wanting to, number one, draw cards. This does that for 2 charge counters. All you have to do is play 2 instants, and then you can draw a card at instant speed to do this. And then, later on in the game, if you just need to finish off your opponent, you can, for 2 mana at instant speed, do 5 damage to your opponent. And so super powerful. And if you're in a really tight spot, it does 5 damage to, a Lyra Dawnbringer, the life linkers, anything like that that you're not wanting. And so I do think that it's a very specific type of thing, and we'll actually have to see in the gameplay if this turns out working out the way that I think it will. I do think that this has a chance to be very powerful, but we'll have to see exactly how it goes. I like it just kind of as an additional redundancy, to do what you need to. The cool thing too is, like, if you end up getting close to those 5 charge counters but don't quite get there, you can just pay 4 mana and draw 2 cards. If you end up having tons of charge counters or anything like that, you're kind of building around these. There's a lot of different fun synergies that you can do with it. So anyway, I think that it's a pretty powerful card. I'm not sure if you'll play a full play set in any deck, but I could see it running as a 2 of in the Gutter Snipe deck, maybe a 3 of. Anyway, that's my thoughts on Firemind's Research. Let's go ahead and get into some of our other cards here. All right, so now we're going to go by color here. So we're starting with white, And the first card I want to talk about here is Healer's Hawk. All right, so Healer's Hawk, nothing too fancy here. It's a 1-mana flying lifelink bird, but from my bird deck that a lifelinking bird actually could be pretty good, especially with favorable wins in the format. So we'll see if we can build another budget-friendly Healer's Hawk, bird deck type of thing. And so I think that having more one-drop birds can be pretty powerful. So we'll see if we can do anything with that one there. Next up, we have Blade Instructor for 2 and 1 white, so 3 converted mana costs. It's a creature, human soldier, and we keep seeing these soldiers popping up, and you'll see quite a few that pop out today. So I'm hoping that we get a Soldier Lord. I'm not sure if we will, but a lot of these soldiers that we have, they're in the Boros mana. They are in the Boros guild, and you can see the little symbol there. But what this does is a mentor. It has mentor, which whenever this creature attacks, put a 1/1/1/1 counter on target attacking creature with lesser power. And so I like this because at least it has greater power. At the same time, this is an uncommon, or sorry, a common for a reason. And so I think that this will be decent in. I think the mentor mechanic will be pretty decent in limited play, in drafting and in a sealed, format. And so I think you could find some play there, but let's go ahead and get into some more cards here. All right, moving on to blue. All right, first off, let's start out with Unexplained Disappearance. For 2 converted mana costs, 1 and a blue, it's an instant spell that says return target creature to its owner's hand. Kind of a bad unsummon, but the Surveil is pretty fun, and so we'll have to see exactly how good Surveil is. I think that putting cards into the graveyard, especially if we're using these jumpstart mechanics, and we'll get into that in the next card, but I do think that it can be pretty powerful. So speaking of which, let's go ahead and jump over to Radical Idea. For again, 2 converted mana costs, 1 and a blue, it's an instant spell, and it's draw a card. And so a 2-mana worse version of Opt, I'm not sure I love, but having Jumpstart so we can do it from the graveyard, I think is good. And so this is one of those cards where I think it can be useful if you're just trying to, like the Gutter Snipe deck, or if there's a synergy that comes out for limited format, this can be decent. But the Jumpstart side of things, if you're dumping stuff into your graveyard, having, an extra card in hand basically from your graveyard that you can use to draw more cards. If you're running dead into lands and drawing too many lands in the late game, or just need to find the lands in the early game, I think that this is useful for that reason. But I'm not sure it'll ever find a full spot in constructed play. All right, the last card in the blue that we have so far today is Murmuring Mystic, and I actually like this card quite a bit. So it's 4 converted mana costs, 3 and a blue. It's a creature, human wizard, so wizard's coming in again. So we'll see if this finds any play just for that reason. But I like this for its ability. It says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 blue bird illusion creature token with flying. And so I like this because, like the young pyromancer type of thing, as long as you're casting instant sorcery spells, all that kind of stuff, you can create a wide board with flying, which is pretty relevant. Maybe doing this with favorable winds wouldn't be too bad, but I really wouldn't do that. I would just use these birds, the 1/1 blue bird illusion, which, again, birds coming in for the win here. But I do think I would just use these bluebirds as kind of like the way to finish out a game, like those last 3 points of damage that you need to do. If you're just going in as a burn type of thing, this wouldn't be a bad if you're doing like a control-y burn version or control-y something like it. It can be a finisher, but I wouldn't make it your ultimate game winner. But I do think that Murmuring Mystic can be pretty powerful in a budget type of deck. All right, so next we have 2 black cards. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on these because they're not amazing, but here we go. Deadly Visit. We have a 5 converted mana cost, 3 and 2 black sorcery spell that says destroy target creature. Pretty terrible, just destroy target creature. It will be good in limited, and we'll see again if the Surveil is good there. I think it'll be useful in limited, but really only in that format. Next we have Mood Mark Painter, which is a 4 converted mana cost, 2 and 2 black, creature, human, shaman. And I do want to build a shaman deck at some point because there's some pretty fun ones that we find throughout standard right now. But it has Undergrowth, which Undergrowth is basically the ability of however many creatures you have in your graveyard does X. And so this says whenever Mood Mark Painter enters the battlefield, target creature gains menace and gets X plus 0. Until end of turn, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. So I like that it gives it menace. This can be a pretty interesting I think this will be a pretty interesting card in limited to to get in some early damage, or just kind of keep chipping in with a menace creature, giving something really powerful. You could see this being used in like some sort of death touch type of deck, but I'm again a limited card. It might be okay. We'll see how it goes. All right, jumping over into red. First, let's start out with Direct Current. We have a 3 converted mana cost, 1 and 2 red sorcery spell that says Direct Current deals 2 damage to any target, and then it has Jumpstart. Again, I'm not sure what I think about these Jumpstart cards. I like them. I feel like they have to be a competitive mana cost for it to really be useful. That's just all together, like, because you need it to be able to be used the first time pretty well. If you're playing a lot of Surveil, a lot of like dumping things into the graveyard, then they become more powerful even at that higher cost, because you can play them. But even then, it's replacing a card in your hand to do that one thing. And so I think it can be useful, but we'll see if it actually becomes very useful in the in the constructed format. All right, next we have Barging Sargent, 5 converted mana cost, 4 in a red creature, Minotaur Soldier. So it has haste for a 4/2 creature, so not too shabby. And then it also has Mentor. So it's hasty, that is probably creating 5 power on the battlefield right away. So not bad for 5 mana. I'm not sure if it ever beats the charging the charging Montresaur dinosaur. Like I think that's just going to be a better card altogether as far as hasty and trample. But this could be pretty fun in the limited format. I think Mentor is going to be powerful there, and we'll see if the Boros really has some good things going for it eventually. All right, in green we only have one card to talk about today. So Arboretum Elemental. So it comes in 7 converted mana cost, 5 and 2 green, but it does have Convoke, and it is an elemental. So a Convoke, again, just so you know, is your creatures can help cast this spell. So basically they can tap down for either the green, if they are a green creature, or for the 5 converted mana cost there. And so making it cheaper, and this comes down as a 7/5 hexproof creature. And so I actually think this is going to be a pretty awesome card in limited, just because anything with hexproof is proven to be pretty decent. And then 7/5, the stats are not bad at all. I wish it had trample, and we'll see if there's going to be a way in limited to kind of build around that, give it trample. But I don't think this is bad. I think that this can be a pretty powerful card. This 7 converted mana cost is still a little expensive for me, especially without the trample here. But anyway, I think it could be pretty fun to play around. We'll see how it goes. All right, going into our multicolored cards here real quick. First off, we have Hammer Dropper for 4 converted mana costs, 2 a red and a white, so Boros colors. It's a creature with Giant and Soldier, and as you see in our Boros colors, we have all the Mentor abilities, and I kind of like that they're giving a different ability for each guild, and that's actually pretty interesting. So that kind of gives me hope that we're going to see even more mechanics come out in the new sets. But anyway, I like Mentor, so whenever this creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature with lesser power. And it's a 5/2, so you're going to be, there's going to have a lot of options with creatures with lesser power. But at the same time, it is kind of weak on the other side. I do think that this could see some play, again, in the soldier format. I think that having just a powerful creature isn't bad, especially one that can produce more power on the board. But again, we'll see how it goes. All right, next we have Rosemane Centaur, which is 5 converted mana cost, 3 a green and a white. And it's a creature, Centaur Soldier, and it has Convoke, so you can make this a little bit cheaper by tapping creatures. And it also has Vigilance and a 4/4. So again, I think this is going to be a good limited card. I think that anything with Vigilance, with decent stats like that, we've seen to be pretty playable in the limited format. Making it even cheaper is pretty cool, so you can kind of build around that. Hopefully we find some like token generators and stuff like that for limited play. But I think this could be a decent card for that format. And again, green-white soldier, finding any kind of soldiers is pretty fun. We'll see if we can build a fun deck around that at some point. All right, Sonic Assault, 3 converted mana costs, a 1, a blue, and a red, and I actually like this card quite a bit. So it's an instant, you can tap target creature, and Sonic Assault deals 2 damage to that creature's controller. And then it has the Jumpstart ability as well. And so this is pretty cool. I think the main reason I like this is just for that blue-red burn type of deck. This works really well with a Gutter Snipe, tapping target creature, so if they do have a Lyra, you don't have an answer for it. This can kind of be another answer for one of those those things that might kill you, so you can play it on their turn, tap down a creature that's going to do the most damage to you or gain them life, and then still do 2 damage. So you're still doing all the things that you want to while still playing a little bit control-y. So that's the reason I like it, is like if you're trying to hold on to counter magic, but don't necessarily want to be spending it when you might get hit pretty hard. I like it for that reason, but we'll see if it ever beats out any other cards in the format. All right, and so here is an uncommon and a split card here. So first off, this is split. It's not like, appeal to authority. It is, you can either do one or the other. And so it's status and statue. I like that they're bringing back the dual mana symbol there for the black and green. I think that that's going to be really powerful to just give this kind of new options. So status side of it is an instant speed, and it says target creature gets +1/+1 and gains death touch until end of turn. So I think that's going to be powerful even in the green, just straight up green side of things. It's going to be at least a useful way to be kind of removal, still go swinging in. It gives it a little bit of a pump. But what a lot of people have been speculating is that this is going to be really, really good with Chain Whirl, a Goblin Chain Whirler. Because as it enters the battlefield, you can go ahead and throw this on real quick, the status ability, before Goblin Chain Whirler's ability triggers, or after it triggers, so you get that on the stack, and give him Death Touch, so then when Goblin Chain Whirler does damage to all other creatures that the opponent controls, it kills everything. So, it's a 4-mana board wipe that leaves you with, a 3/3 first striker. So that combo is kind of interesting to a lot of people, especially because it's already looking good in the red-black combo. So anyway, people have been looking at that. And then statue side of it is 4 mana cost, 2 a red and a green, and it's an instant speed, destroy target artifact, creature, or enchantment. And I think that this is going to be useful at times. I think that you play it for the status side, and then if there's no time that it really works out, you kind of use it for the statue side to kind of save yourself in a bind. And so I think that it's actually really good to kind of use, if you're going to be using status kind of as removal, like a cheap form of removal, and then you can use it on the statue side for a more expensive form of removal. So I think it's actually going to be pretty useful, especially because you get to destroy the artifact and enchantment. So this is actually a pretty good card. I like it. I think it's going to see some play. Where it sees play, we're going to have to see exactly, but I think it'll be pretty powerful. All right, one last card to bring up is one more land I forgot to bring up beforehand, is the Garry Guild Gate. So we have a land gate that's coming back. And I'm not totally sure what we're going to be seeing as far as gates go, but cool to see it come back. So it enters the battlefield tapped. It's just another tap mana. And so, I mean, our more budget-friendly decks will have more tap mana to be seeing. Like, so worst case scenario, at least these, hopefully we'll be getting all these gates and the colors, all the colors for the guilds that we have. And so I think that's going to be fun to see and have, at least for the budget decks, to have more tap mana that's dual colored to create a little bit more consistency. At the same time, we'll see if that's actually worthwhile at all. But anyway, interesting little thing there. So that is all for the spoilers today with Guilds of Ravnica. Leave down in the comments below the things that you guys like down there. Are you guys actually limited players? Is this kind of stuff interesting for you? Do you kind of want to focus more just on the rares and mythics? But overall, I probably still will be doing something on most every card. And I hope you guys enjoy the video. And if you did, please give a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you guys in the next video. Bye.